Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear students. Again, we continue with lessons of linguistics, and today we are going to see in the slides lesson number 6, the principles of American structuralism. Of course, when I talk about principles of American structuralism, I have to go back to the European structuralism. Both of them, they shared a group of features. So, they both focus on the necessity to treat each language as a coherent and integrated system. They both agree on this, and they both emphasize on the structural uniqueness of individual languages. They consider each language individually. They study each language individually, and they study the structure of the language, which is unique according to them for each language individually. Structuralism gives us a collective term to the linguistic approaches during the first half of the 20th century, which is based on, of course, the works of Ferdinand de Saussure. So Ferdinand de Saussure has given to us a term to this approach that adopted the structure of the language in the studies about the language. So structuralism, in a narrower sense, talks about linguistic theories of de Saussure. But in a broader sense, it is an umbrella term to study other subjects, to be an umbrella term for an approach to other disciplines like anthropology, like ethnology, sociology, psychology, and even literary criticism. It further, linguistic structuralism focuses on studying synchronically the language structure, not its developments. So these are, if you can say, the common features between American structuralism and the European structuralism. Now we move to the American structuralism. The American structuralism, yes, we can say that there are common points between the two, but there are some things that can be also, we can say that they are featured, or they characterize this school. So American structuralism, the main principles of American structuralism that can be common between them and the other European structuralism, and we can also find some principles that are different from. So linguistics is descriptive, not prescriptive, and this is normally point of difference between the two. So linguistics is descriptive, so they describe the language as it is, not as it should be. The American structuralism main principle is that they focus on the spoken language, and they study the spoken language, especially the dead languages of the Indians, the native speakers, or the native Americans. Okay, so this is neglected in the European structuralism. They focus mainly on the written language. Language is a system of signs, and this is common between the two. Language is structured and self-contained, so from the language we can study the language. So everything is in the language. We can find everything, the relationship between the elements from the language, study the grammar from the language, and so on. So it is self-contained and structured. Study of language is synchronic, is also common between the two schools. The relation between form and meaning is arbitrary, and this is exactly what was highlighted by Ferdinand de Saussure. Features of American structuralism. Let's talk more about the American structuralism. American structuralists, most of them are anthropologists. Their influence of anthropology is clearly stated in their theories about the language. So what they have studied about the language is normally derived, it is originated from the anthropology contributions. They also influenced by behavioral psychology. So behavioral psychology has helped or had helped them to elaborate their theories about the language. Moreover, they adopted the study procedures to study the language. The study procedures, the different steps. It is a scientific approach, a scientific method used to study the the language. Okay. American Indian languages, this is the main subject. This is, if you can say, the point of interest of, between or among the American structuralists, first linguists in America. And they focused much more on studying the American Indian languages that are dead languages at that time. Also, they, as I said, already said, by the principles of the American structuralism, which can be shared between them and the other schools in Europe, is the descriptive of the taxonomic linguistics. So it is, we say, descriptive linguistics, prescriptive linguistics. Descriptive linguistics is American structuralism, prescriptive linguistics is the European structuralism. Corpus-based analysis is also a technique used to, or a method used to conduct research about the languages. Okay. So what are the features of the American structuralism is that they've let's say elaborated a more scientific research methodology to study the language. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.